Hi, this is Becca coming to you from the FemPsycho Collab with another women-centric 0L Recon for week 3 of season 16. This week we've got 2 courses which we're just going to plop together in one video, so if you're looking for turf and surf, just navigate to the middle of the video. So, starting with country to coastal, this is the AB course. It is 33.4 kilometers long, and these are both scratch style races. So, fill your team with 6 if you can, and if you can assess your team's strengths and assign roles to try to keep as many of your riders in the front group as possible, you're likely to get the most points. So 4 or 5 riders finishing in the front group is going to give you more points than if you have some stragglers who could have used a little help to stay in that group. So we're going to take a look at the course notes briefly, and then I'll talk through the video at the end. So you're going to get 5 power-ups throughout this course, which are supposedly assigned to the banners that you can see marked out on these course notes. And you're supposed to use them as you go through. If one of these actually works for you better, for instance, if a steamroller isn't of use to you, then you can just save your anvil if you want, or you could save your feather for the finish. Just these are the ones that are assigned to the course. So if we're going to start at the very beginning, there's a starting kicker right out of the gate, which is almost 10%, and it's very short, but it's going to take a lot of power to get over it in the front group. So if you can push yourself to stay with the front group through that steep kicker and through the following 1.25 kilometers, you're going to have a much better shot at staying with that front pack through about halfway through the course, which will make a big difference for finish points. So, and your time for the course. So after you get over into the village at around 1.3 kilometers, you'll hit the village sprint arch at 1.7, where you'll receive a draft van. That draft van provides you 40 seconds worth of extra draft, and you need to be behind someone in order to use it. So use it sometime in the next 6 kilometers. There's a rolling descent that you'll see here for about 5 kilometers. The pack will roll fast, so make sure you're in a group. If that group is chasing the front pack, then just make sure you're not giving in yet. So work with people around you if you're trying to catch the front group. And if you're in the front group and you have enough of your riders in the front group, then maybe it's a spot to push the pace. You're going to hit the country sprint arch at 7.4 kilometers, where you'll receive an anvil. An anvil makes you heavier for 15 seconds. And you've got a descent starting about 12.4 kilometers, where you'll be able to use it at multiple points throughout the descent into Macquarie Islands. So the road surface switches from dirt to road at about 13.5 kilometers, so that's a good spot for it around there. You have to be -2% to have it be effective. So then you're going to hit a wooden bridge that's a momentum killer around 15.9 kilometers. And then you're going to have a corkscrew climb starting at 18.6. The initial half kilometer is very shallow, about 3 to 4%. And then it gets slightly steeper around 19 kilometers. You flatten out across a bridge, and then you have a final section, which tops out at about 6%. You're going to hit the Shisa Sprint Arch following that, and a descent for 2 kilometers. So you want to make sure you're in the group again so that you can rest on that descent rather than push. You're going to receive a steamroller at the Shisa Sprint Arch, and the steamroller reduces your rolling resistance when you're on a surface other than road. So you can use it on any of the other surfaces, but the most effective use of it is on dirt, which you can find after the momentum killer at 23.8 to 24.1. Following that, you're going to hit the tide pool sprint arch at 25.8. You're going to receive a feather. The feather makes you lighter for 30 seconds, and you can use it on the climb out of the beach, or you can save it for the finish line at 33.4 kilometers. So from the tide pool sprint arch to the finish line is a absolute slog. It's It's mostly draftable, but there are long sections of climb in there, and you will flatten out after the climb up from the beach. But then the finish is draggy climb for about 500 meters, and then a super steep kicker that you hit at the very beginning. So if you can protect riders that you think may be able to finish with the front pack, that's great. Obviously, don't sacrifice your strongest rider in order to have them sweep for a rider that's going to drop anyway. But if it's on the fringe, then try to have your riders help each other out. So now we're going to go over and take a look at turf and surf. Okay, for our Season Ds, you'll be on turf and surf this week, which is a similarly lumpy, bumpy course going over a lot of the same features as country to coastal, but it's a bit shorter, and there are fewer power-ups to hit, so it's a little easier in the reconning and in the coming up with the plan. As you can see, the first half is also flat to down. So we're going to go look at the course notes, and then we can talk about how 2Cs on the FCC would approach it. So you're going to start out in Neokyo, and you're going to go through the alley sprint initially. It's about the draft van that you'll receive at the banner, because again, there's no segment points. This is just about the banner being there. So the alley sprint is a place where groups can lose touch with each other because it's a bit windy. And the arcade at 4.3 is about the same, where there's lots of turns, and so sometimes the group can get split just because there's so many turns. So just pay attention, and if you're looking to thin the pack, then these are spots to do it. If you're looking to keep your riders in that front pack, then it's a good spot to be communicating with each other and looking out for each other. So you're going to have a downhill to Yurikaze. Oh, that's what it's called, at 6.8 kilometers. And this is a long stepped downhill where you're going to turn onto the road at 9.4 kilometers. And you'll have, if you have riders with gravitas, then see if you can use them to either push the pace there or to help your other riders stay in the group. So your lighter riders are likely to have to push on that downhill, so just be watching out for them. There's a wooden bridge at 11.8 kilometers where that's just a momentum killer, so just be aware of it. It's going to slow down the pack speeds. You don't want to be caught off the back as the front of the pack starts to descend. Then you're going to climb the corkscrew climb at 14.5 kilometers, and the initial 500 meters is pretty gentle, 3 to 4%, and then it's going to get slightly steeper before you break across a bridge. You have a flat break, and then a final section which tops out at about 6%, which is on the road surface. That's going to end with the Shisa sprint, and you're going to get a feather power up there, and you're going to descend for about 2 kilometers. But again, it's one of those places, if you get caught off the back of the group, you can have a hard time getting in touch. So you definitely want to get in touch with the pack before the descent if you can, in order to be able to rest on that downhill. There's a bump at 19.8 kilometers, which is another momentum killer. So these are just spots to be aware of, and not necessarily places to make breaks, but if you do want to make a break, momentum killers are a spot where the pack speed should lower. You're gonna enter the Pain Cavern climb at 21.4 kilometers. This is really stepped and not very steep. So if you are a heavier rider, remember to push through the flat sections of the steps. If you're a lighter rider, then also remember to push on those flat segments, because your riders that are heavier are going to can definitely make a difference in those spots. So it's not very steep and not very hard, but it is pretty long, and there's about 100 meters of climbing throughout that Pain Cavern. Once you exit the Pain Cavern, you're going to have about 1 kilometer before the finish, so you might think that you're ready to sprint right when you get out of the Pain Cavern, but it's not time yet. So don't go too early, but be ready when you exit the cavern to get back to full speed so that you can sprint when you hit the pens on your right hand side. So I have Anya's corner and Sonia's corner to talk through. And then I'm putting the Recon video at the end of this at fast speed, so you can take a look at the course if you don't have a chance to get out there. So Anya's recommendations for this course, these are both C riders. So Anya is a puncher and Sonia is more of a all-arounder. So this is their perspective on what you should do for the course. So Anya's saying conserve energy in the pack until the middle of the race and watch for the move on the wooden bridge at 11.8, which is one of those momentum killers that I pointed out. The pain cavern is stepped, so be careful not to lose the group because of the wrong gear, meaning if you're pushing on in a low gear on the steep parts and then you hit a flat segment and suddenly you have to spin your gears fast. This is a good place for a breakaway, Anya thinks. So, and she also was mentioning don't start the sprint too early. So when you see the start pens on the right-hand side, that's a spot to go. And Sonia's recommendation is to play to your squad's strengths. So this one's a scratch race and only the finish points matter. Several riders placing solidly in the top 10 to 15 will usually score the team more than a single podium spot with everybody else behind. So if you have a mix of sprinters, diesels, and climbers, let the big engines shield your mountain goats on the flats and descents, and then launch them for a fierce attack on the climb. Teamwork makes the dream work. And love it. So good luck out there, everybody, and see you next week.